everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be doing some watercoloring with Derwent Inktense Watercolor pencils, and it's going to be a little bit of story time too while I'm coloring. So to start off, I have a card base that measures 8 by 5.5 inches, and I scored it at 4 inches. Actually, this one was already pre-scored. This is one of the card bases that you can get in packs of like 25 or 50 from Michael's, or I probably got it from Michael's or AC Moore when they were in business. So I'm taking a Honeybee stencil. This is one of the 3 stencils that come in the Fall Showers stencil pack. And I'm using 3 different colors of Distress Oxide: Abandoned Coral, Dried Marigold, and Fossilized Amber. If I was going to do this card over again, what I would have done was use some white pigment ink and done the whole stencil, and then shifted it slightly to the right, and then done the colors on top of it after the pigment ink dried. I think that having the little white shadow underneath of it makes it stand out on craft cardstock, and I love doing this technique. I do have a couple of videos with that, and I will be doing in my Christmas series, I definitely will be doing that technique again. So once the front is done, I'm going to put that off to the side, and we are going to get working on some of the die cut pieces. So we're going to be using the die set from Honeybee Stamps called Fall Bouquets. And we're going to be using the big pumpkin. So there are 2 vessels in this die set. There is one that is a jar, and then the pumpkin one. And there are a bunch of flowers that you can put on top of the pumpkin. But I chose to cut out a couple of leaves that are in the set, ran them through my bitty buzz cutter, which I absolutely love this thing. It's so cute. And funny, I had my brother's girls on Saturday, and they both were obsessed with using this. So it's really cute, and they can use it very easily. So it's great for little cuts, and it's real easy to keep on your desk. So I ran that through my bitty buzz cutter, so I have the pumpkin and then a couple of leaves. I did the acorns too, but I didn't end up using them. So now I'm taking 3 different shades of Derwent Inktense Watercolor pencils. And I know that the second color that I use is tangerine. There's some kind of orange is the other one, and then burnt orange is the last one. But I started out with the lightest color and then the 2 middle sections of the pumpkin. And the key to doing this and getting a very good result on this is patience and multiple layers. So you'll see here as I go through, I'm really adding the layers up, letting them dry. That's the patience part. This is probably one of the first times that I really sat down and gave myself gave myself some time to let the layers dry in between, and I really think it makes a huge difference. So you'll see here I'm putting down color at the top and the bottom, and then just pulling that color into the middle but leaving a white highlight. So I'm going to do that for all of the sections. So while I'm doing that, before we get to the next part, I'm going to do a little bit of a story time because we haven't done one in a little while. There's a lot of stuff that's going on here now. Work is crazy like always. But I wanted to give you an update on the cats. Fred had another episode last weekend, and I had taken him to the vet before he had the episode because I didn't really think he was eating. So I was giving him baby food, which was what the vet suggested, and he was loving it. Tried to give him wet food. They don't really eat wet food. I don't think Lucy's ever had it in her life. And Fred only had it when he was at the emergency vet hospital the one time. So he was he wasn't really eating it, but he was loving the baby food. And I was all excited that he was, seemed to be doing better. He did lose 3/4 of a pound between Memorial Day and Labor Day. The Friday before Memorial Day and the Friday before Labor Day, we had to take him to the vet both Fridays. So a great start and end to the summer season. They did take blood for Fred the last time he was there on the Friday before Labor Day. The news was not the best. He is 19 years old. He has kidney issues, so we put him on kidney food. So it's interesting because now I have to keep Lucy and Fred apart. She's been pretty good. She really hasn't tried to eat his food. I try to keep it out. We did think we were losing him. So, I keep looking at it as every day with him is an extra day, and it's a blessing. It's really hard. I've had them for almost 19 years. Like I said, they just turned 19 in August. So it is very, very difficult to imagine, them not being here. I know that eventually will be a reality, but it's hard to think about. So, we're just enjoying the time with him. He did walk down the steps the other day, and I was like shocked because he does have a difficult time walking. Every time he has an episode, which we think are seizures, his back legs take a couple of days to really start to work again. So back to the pumpkin, and then we'll go back to the story. So I used that tangerine color and went in and did the second layer. And again, I put it over top of where that first orange was, and then just pulled it down so that the middle would have a little bit of a lighter color, and then so that's kind of like the highlight color. And then I will go in and start filling these in. I do the same kind of process for each and every one of the sections of the pumpkin. So you'll just see me doing that over and over again, is scribbling a little bit down, pulling it on, and then in a little bit we'll do a little bit more definition into the pumpkin. So back to what's going on with Fred. So he's more himself now than he's been. It's been a little over a week, and he's obviously weaker. So we're just enjoying the time that we have. The vet gave me a timeline, and I don't even like to think about that because, when he had his first episode, they gave him, I think it was they'd said about 6 months, and that was 2 years ago at the end of July. So timelines don't mean anything to that guy. He is such a fighter, and so we're just hoping for the best. I just want to make sure that he's not in pain. So that's kind of the update on Fred. Lucy is doing really well. She's obviously slowing down a little bit too. Again, she's 19, but she's still as sassy as ever. She's sitting right next to me. She has been my little sidekick, my little shadow for most things. She goes down into the craft room every once in a while, not as much as, ow, and she just bit me because I'm talking about her. But she definitely is, slowing down and not coming down as much to visit me. But she does sleep in my office. I have a little house in there for her, and actually one for Fred as well, so if he wants to come in and sleep there. But I bring her food in there so she can kind of graze throughout the day and then not have to worry about Fred having, eating that food because he's got to keep with his specialty food. So, we're just taking everything day by day, all three of us. So, so we'll see what happens. So back to the pumpkin, I'm going back in with the lightest color and adding a little bit more to the centers to kind of make that highlight a little less. It was a little bit too big, and I just wanted to have just a teeny tiny highlight on the center of the pumpkin to make it look more round. So I will continue to do that. And so I'm trying to think of what else is going on. That was mainly my big thing is really I've been spending a lot of time with Fred. I've been watching a lot of movies and just hanging out. He sleeps in the closet in my room, so I kind of am spending a lot of time in the room. I do go downstairs into my craft room. I did actually do this video and another video today for next weekend, for actually the end of this week, which is the Team Tiny Hop. So I finished that one, and I'm just trying to do as many crafts as possible. Nora, actually all three of the older girls started their cheerleading. So Nora had a game yesterday, so I was over. I went to the game, drove my mom over we took the girls back after the game. My brother and sister-in-law had something that they needed to do, so they met us back at the house, and the girls came here and crafted. Like I said, they used the bitty buzz cutter, which was absolutely adorable. Mila, that was like all she wanted to do. She was exhausted, but she knew she wanted to use the crank machine. So they stamped out some MFT images. Nora did the carousel, and Mila did her did the cute little dog and colored it in with crayons. So I'll have to get those pictures. I have Mila's card here, but my niece Nora took her card home, so I want to see it when it's done. I'm going to ask her if she could send me a picture. So all right, now back to the pumpkin, and I went in and I drew in those lines, and you can see I'm doing it again, going back in and drawing in the lines of the pumpkin. So that where it would be the greatest indentation would be where it's the darkest. So I'm using that burnt orange, I think it's called burnt orange, and going into those and just darkening those up. And I think that makes a huge difference with the pumpkin. I think that makes it really stand out. So it's nice because there are a ton of embossed lines in here, so it's very easy to follow along with the pencils. So I'm going back in and coloring in any of the spots that I may have missed, because there is a little bit of a lip on the bottom, so I may have missed the bottom, and then just going back in and watercoloring, taking the paintbrush and pulling that color out. So really the key to getting all of this dimension is don't rush, be patient, which again is so super difficult for me as somebody who is like, all right, I just want to get to the next stage. I want to make the card, I want to finish it and, see the final creation. You kind of have to slow down, and you got to give yourself a little bit of, you got to have a little bit of patience. So for some reason today, I just was like, let me see what happens when I actually do it. And I loved the results. So let me know in the comments if you guys are like me, usually just trying to get through things and you don't wait for things to one layer to dry before you start putting paint or watercolor or whatever it is over the other layer. So if you're like that, try this. Try it just one time and see. And I think that this is, even though it took so much longer than the way I would normally watercolor, I really, really like the way that it turned out. So I cut out a little bit more of the coloring, but now I'm going back in with that burnt orange pencil one more time and deepening and darkening up those lines. Again, I think it makes a huge difference and helps it stand out a lot more after you've done that. After I went back in and added a little bit more color to it, I realized that the lines got a little bit more faded. I had pulled out that color a little bit too much. So that's the final pumpkin. And then I took the leaves and I just picked a couple of colors of Inktense. This one is the poppy red, and then I think I went in with the tangerine, and then I went in with a yellow and just watercolor these. I didn't do anything really fancy. I didn't do any layers with this. If I had to do this over again, if I was redoing this card, I definitely would not have done the red and the orange on this one. I think I probably would have done maybe a little bit, maybe some red and yellow instead, because I think it blends in a little bit too much with the pumpkin, because I picked the middle color, which is what the majority of the pumpkin was. So I think that I probably would have maybe only done like a 2-color blend on this one, but I was just putting colors down. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with the leaves. I actually thought I was going to have them underneath the pumpkin, but I changed my mind at the last minute. So then I think this one is a maple leaf, and I went in with a couple different colors because I wasn't really sure. I thought that I wanted it to be like a green and yellow, so I went in with this yellow and then this like highlighter neon lime green, and I didn't like that at all, so I actually will go back in and fix it because it looks very yellow. I do go in with a green later on, like a true green, and fix that, but I let this dry first. There's me trying to pull up some of the color because I really didn't love the way that it was turning out. So I picked up some green and went in with that, and I still didn't love the way that looked. So when I was all done, I put that to the side, let that dry. But I did, every time I went to put the leaves back in or like do something with them, I put them back in a puddle of water. I don't know why I didn't clean up that water that I had at the top, but for whatever reason I didn't. So put it in there. So this is a like violet, it's a red violet, I think. So it's very purpley, but it has a red undertone in it, and I thought that would look pretty for the leaves. And then I did red, I think I did the poppy red again at the top of this. So I wanted to do a little bit of red purple leaf. Again, I like this color leaf. It's not very bright though. I think I maybe would have gone over it a couple other times. Again, I put it back into the water. I don't know what I was doing. And now I'm going to come back and fix this leaf. I'm going to put a little bit of green on here. So these things are always very fixable. That's the nice part about watercolors. If you don't like it, let it dry and go over it. This is Canson XL watercolor paper. So it's not the best watercolor paper, but I do love using it. I actually also will use the kids watercolor paper from Michaels, and I don't really notice a difference, which is fantastic. If you don't put a ton of water down on it and you don't put a ton of layers down, it works really, really well. So, and it's very inexpensive. I also am loving watercolor cardstock for ink blending. So if you guys have never tried that for ink blending, definitely try it. That is my video on next weekend will actually have that in there. I will do some ink blending on watercolor paper. So now I'm gluing the leaves down to the top. So you can see there that like red and orange and yellow leaf doesn't really stand out, but there's no stem on the pumpkin. So I wanted to just cover that up. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Again, I thought the leaves were going to be at the bottom, but I like the leaves on top of that. Like they fell off onto the pumpkin that was just sitting down on the ground. So I'm going to use my Be Creative glue from Honeybee stamps and glue the pumpkin on. And then we are going to be using a stamp from the stamp set Faboolous Sentiments. It's also from Honeybee stamps, and we're going to use our Lawn Fawn jet black ink to stamp out the sentiment Hey Pumpkin. It's two separate pieces, and this one is a great one. You can make a ton of different sayings with this Faboolous Sentiments, and it's I will put the title of it down there, but it's Faboo, like boo for Halloween, Euless Sentiments. So it's not, I'm not saying it wrong or saying it funny. That's what it's actually called. So this stamps the Lawn Fawn jet black ink stamps pretty nicely over Distress Oxide. And you see there, I had stamped the Hey Pumpkin, and that is the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed story time. Let me know down in the comments if you've tried the watercoloring, if you guys have patience. Here is a picture of the card. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and I'll see you soon for another video. Bye!